What's up, everybody? Lefty here. Today I have the one and only Jeff London. Jeff, thank you
man.
for having me here, bro.
Absolutely.
This is crazy. As we were walking
We're-
up, I was like, "Holy shit! This is a
Yeah.
sick, just it's everything you dream of working in the business that you work in." Man.
It is. We moved into this building, as they say, Big Night, the Big Night office we are coming live from, above the garden. We moved here about a year ago, and it's beautiful, beautiful Verizon building. Yeah, it's a great place to work.
Bro. It's like as you're walking me through, I'm trying to play it cool, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like everything I'm walking through, I'm like, wow, this is the headquarters of like the number one party spot in the area. Like
That's
this
where
is
it goes
sick.
down,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Even like watching, I think there was DJ Costa at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like seeing him, I was just like, oh shit, this is like where they actually like they you know, because you were so chill, like meeting talking to you, on IG and like how you were down
Sure.
to do a podcast. So I was like, I gotta learn more because not only of your role, but I was looking at your podcast.
Those Blokes
Those
podcast.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, I saw some clips, but my question to you is, how did you come up with the idea? Like, what was the thought behind it?
So I had a podcast before. We actually have a podcast studio downstairs, Studio B podcast, and in our old office, I had one. It was on the promoter. He's the DJ. That had an amazing run. And also, my good friend, Marky P, my co-host on Dos Blokes, had his own Marky P show. When his show ended and my show ended, we moved over here, and we were just, as a good friend and everything, we were just sharing our stories, and everybody kept saying, you guys need a podcast together. So we got together, and we've done a bunch of episodes. We're going to start up again very soon.
Nice.
We took a little break, but we're starting up again. So a lot of new episodes to come. It's going to be great, but it's a ton of fun. Marky is an amazing co-host. We talk about everything from industry to what's going on, and it's just a ton of laughs. It's a good time.
Yeah, it definitely looks it. So, what is Kurt, out of all the episodes you guys have done together,
Sure.
do you have one that's like your favorite where it just felt like it flowed? It was an easy like show.
Yeah, they're all pretty easy. We've had some great guests on. I think one of the things that we talk about our likes and dislikes, not only in the industry but just in life. And everybody knows that I'm not a big fan of hots. I think milk is spicy. So we had an episode where we had Chris Costa from Card Vault.
Okay.
Card Vault by Tom Brady, and myself, Marky, and Chris were just answering questions, trivia, and we had to eat. If you got the trivia question wrong, you had to eat some hot things, and I lost, I think, and it was like something ridiculous, 1,000,000,000,000,000 Scoville units, and I took this thing down, and it was pretty funny to see live. Yeah, it wasn't funny for me, but
yeah.
But it
If
was
you hate
funny.
eating hots,
It was not pretty. Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, now it's awesome.
Now it's awesome.
Yeah. In that moment, it sucks shit.
Yeah.
All right. So, is that something that you tend to do? Like, you like to do stuff like that, where you put yourself in a position like that?
I'm not
or-
like I like to watch more of the Jackass podcast than Jackass, show them be the Jackass.
Sure, yeah.
But I'll do anything, not anything, but I do a lot of things. I like to try new things, whether it's being the hottest thing or trying something new. I like to put the more adventurous, I would say, yeah, than just trying to be the butt of all jokes.
Sure.
Or something.
Yeah. You want to enjoy it, not be why people enjoy it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I gotcha.
Correct.
Now, what made you two click as co-hosts together? Like, was there a moment where you just like the stories were just
Yeah, I mean, me and him get along so well, and it's just we just vibe off each other. So it's a give and take, and it's if you get us two in the room together, it's pretty hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah.
nice?
So.
What is one of your favorite stories to share? Like when you're
I mean, I like to do a lot of on the show, I do a lot of celebrity stories, over the past 25 years of being in the industry and just being as now the director of VIP and just running to so many celebs or taking care of celebrities, athletes, and things like that. We share a lot on the show. A lot of names are voided out, but you can guess who it is by our descriptions of the person. So I think, and Marky has done a lot in the industry as well as been managing artists. He's now artist relations, production. So he's dealt with a lot of artists. He's had some great stories as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there one that you both have experienced of the same artist?
Oh yeah, we've had the crossover of doing a few artists, yeah. And most of the time, it's when he's in the production and in artist management, kind of level, and me being the VIP host side of it. We pretty much see the same sides of it. So, and it's mostly the good sides because they want to be on the good side of the guy that's hosting them and the guy that's in charge of their rider and in charge of setting up the equipment and making stage perfect for them. So I think we have the stories cross over, but you're either a bad guy to both of us or a nice guy to both of us, and most of the time it's a nice guy to both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first experience of working with a celeb to you like?
I think it was in being in 25 years. I think especially in Boston, I think a lot of it had to do with athletes, and I remember. In the early 2000s, the Red Sox were the hottest thing, ever. And seeing some, Big Papi and dealing with the Red Sox and the championship and things like that, that was my kind of first interaction with so-called, celebrities. But it was more, as Boston is more of a celebrity town, I think. I mean, athlete town. It's the celebrities are the athletes. And vice versa.
Sure.
So I think, seeing that, and the Celtics were always out, they only had games, twice a week, 3 times a week. So they'd have, some of these weekday events they'd have off the visiting team would be in town. So seeing in that time like Pierce and Antoine Walker and things like that would, it would happen quite often. Yeah.
Nice. So for you, it started with, or it still is, I would assume, a lot of athletes that you're
Sure.
tending to work with.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a formula you've developed for each type of celebrity that comes in, or how do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the formula is pretty straightforward. I mean, you're there to take care of them. They're there for 3 hours to enjoy their night, and you do what you can for them to enjoy it. We're not. A church or anything like that where, we have fun with alcohol and music and women and guys, whatever you want, and just fun people around. So you want to, give them, whatever it is, 2 hours of their life to forget about things and enjoy the music and have fun and party.
Right. Now, it must be such an interesting job because their job most often is to entertain.
Sure.
But now your job is to entertain them.
So we're entertaining the entertainer.
Yes.
And I think that, some of them want to, be left alone and just, have a private VIP, enjoy the music, just hang out with their friends. And some people want to be on top of the couches and be known, and I'm here, and this is my 2 hours to let loose and, and have fun.
Nice. Which side do you like to lead with? Do you prefer?
Oh, it totally doesn't matter. I mean, some of them, like to be, left alone, and then a few drinks later and things like that, they're really feeling it, and they pop up and they're, running across the bar the next thing.
Nice.
Like that.
What is your favorite interaction when it comes to a coworker that you've had that makes you excited about like working here at Big Night, right? Outside of just like celebrity stuff, there's culture behind it that I find
Absolutely.
plays a huge role.
Sure.
And I've talked to anyone. So, what type of culture things do you think you specifically liked that have really motivated you to want to stay at the top of your game for so long?
Well, I always like in coming into this, and everybody thinks it's easy, and the young guys come in, and anybody can throw one party. Anybody can throw one party. It's the consistency, it's the longevity, it's the name of the game. I love to see the young guys come in and keep being consistent, looking towards the future, looking towards doing something different. We have a party, 9 a.m. bangers, a 9 a.m. party. I never, I used to go to bed at 9 in the morning. Now people are, throwing parties at eye-opening things, styles of music, changing things like that. I'm not stuck in my ways, so I like to be, I like the ideas, the freshness of people coming in and in thinking outside the box. I think that's, what doesn't make things stale. I think that's what gives, Boston nightlife. Everybody can throw a party. Everybody can play the same 40 songs, Now is it different because it's 9 a.m. and everybody's enjoying it? Now is it, silent party that people used to do, back in the day. The thinking outside the box and, doing day parties and just straight R&B parties, changing what, what used to just be a 10 to 2 kind of night into something thinking outside the box. I love when people come up with new ideas,
Right,
and the freshness of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, right? That's how you stay with the age bracket that comes out to what you do.
Sure.
Right?
And also them teaching me like the new kind of music that's out there, I hear the certain music and some of the artists that I think are relevant aren't relevant. And in them showing me, an artist and watching that artist grow and becoming relevant and, becoming, the popular artist that they are. It's pretty cool to watch.
Right. Now, let me ask you about that. Where do you think you developed that mindset? Was it what did you have an experience that made you think like I'm always going to accept incoming input, or like how did you get to that?
I don't always accept it. I put my foot down on something, and I like to be proven wrong.
Okay.
But I just don't hold, a wall up and say no. I am open to ideas. I do, put my years of experience into it and seeing where they're coming from. Now, will this fresh idea work off the bat? Maybe not. But I do like to try different things. And I put my experience, know whether, in my basic intuition, knowing if it will work or not. And if it seems like it can go in the right direction, I like to try it. I think that's where people fade out is where you keep doing the same exact thing without evolving, without listening, without changing. Now, if you have something that's very successful, I think that's great, and you continue on that till it slows down. But if you just go in one direction, at some point it's going to fade out, and I think that's where people don't evolve and change and go in a different direction or listen. Once you're stuck in your ways, you can be stuck down that road, and that road can be successful for a long time, but at some point it's going to fade out.
Right. You work it and use it as long as it's working, but
Correct.
Eventually you're going to have to get creative somewhere. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Was there a moment where an idea didn't work that you really believed that taught you a lesson in terms of what to look for when it came to what was going to be successful and what wasn't?
Of course, I think, early on, I think, you think that, these parties are going to be successful or everybody that says yes, that they're going to come, they're not going to show.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of times, 20 people, 40 people, 80 people told me yes, I'm good for 80 people. You take that number and you divide it by a third, and especially, on a guest list kind of thing, you have 300 on a guest list, 100 of those will show, which is great, But yeah, I usually divide it by a third.
Right.
For
So the math is whatever number we got down.
divided by a third.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Which I think it's a pretty fair way to think about guest list for
sure.
sure. You
Yeah.
know. Now, when you just to go back, I know we talked a little
Sure.
bit off camera, but to go back, when you bought your first vinyls,
Sure.
and then you brought them home,
Yeah.
and you did your thing, what was like the thought behind it? Like, what were you?
Well, I always loved music, and I think there's, especially, dating myself, but when I started DJing in 97, 98, it was more of playing with the vinyl that I wanted to play, right? And maybe this could be, going back to the previous question, a mistake, the things that you learned, right? Not everybody's going to like your style of music. Not everybody's going to like every song that you play. So I think when I, started picking up vinyl, I started learning, it's just not hip hop and reggae. It's there's the R&B component. There's the old school. There's 90s and 80s, and then there's a new style of house music and things like that. I think learning to expand, to reach different audiences was something I learned to do in the beginning, but I always still collected the vinyl. I still wanted to to play as well.
Yeah, of course. What was I remember the crowds I flopped on, and they sit with me forever because
Sure.
that was the day like
Sure.
I improved that crate in a sense.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
was there? What was the first flop like? Like, do you remember the party or like what you played and it didn't
Yeah,
work?
I think when I first started, it was more house parties, so it was easy to, kind of people were just getting after and just wanted to party, and it was nothing. I think when you get into a specific, kind of club, lounge, things like that, people kind of want to hear not just necessarily party, but they want to hear the good songs. They want to hear what's hot and things like that. There were definitely parties that didn't turn out so well, or just that crowd didn't want to hear the hits that I was playing, or the non-hits that I was playing. Yeah, there are many times that I think about those. Yeah, and what I could have done different. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I find that those sit with me more often than like the ones that I crushed. Like if I could crush a party,
Yeah.
but like the ones that scarred me as a DJ that day.
Well, I think that's a mentality. I think that if people just think about their wins, and you just are so stuck on your wins, and you don't see how you can improve your losses, is a mindset that I don't want to be a part of. How can I improve? How can I change? What can I do different? As opposed to I won. I'm the top, right? You want to improve on your losses so that everything can be a win. But if you just focus on your wins, you're not going to go anywhere or anywhere far, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Was there a specific moment where you saw someone or yourself experienced like where you could have had a W but you were so focused on your win, and that's where that comes from? Or how exactly did you come to that thought?
I think it's been instilled in me. I think I think people should have pride in their wins. I think people should have pride, but I think that you have to get to the next level. You focus on how to get better. I think you don't get to another level by just focusing on what's good. I think you focus on what can be improved, and these are not necessarily losses, but just things that you can improve on.
Sure.
And things that you can improve on just inside of you. You might have won that crowd over, and they've not seen anything. They've not seen a negative thing. But in terms of you, I could have improved this. I could improve this. And I think that's how some a lot of things that comes, again, going back to athletes. I think that's what they improve on. If we take baseball for example, a hitter, he can always hit fastballs, but he needs to improve, his bunting game, or reading pitches better, things like that. And to have all that artillery in his bag now he's this hitter can hit anything,
Right.
I think that's very important to have basically an arsenal in your bag.
I agree. Um, what do you do to keep yourself improving? Like, I talk to people. Some people do audiobooks. Some people do
Sure.
different, like whatever their personality kind of craves for creativity. They'll do that. What do you do to keep yourself?
Um, I love to watch podcasts, but I like to see what other people are doing. I go out. I love to go to restaurants and try new restaurants. I love to go to new lounges, new clubs, see what they're doing. I love to see what other people are doing, and not just be pigeonholed into what I'm doing for work. I also love to have fun. I love to go out. I love to do that stuff. So it's part, having fun, eating good,
Right.
seeing what other people are doing in the industry. Yeah, I mean, I love, podcasts. I love music podcasts, and kind of nostalgia, kind of going down, see how production is made in music, or whether it be like Nardwar, dissecting somebody's what their favorite lunch place was from high school.
What an amazing interviewer! But like
he's
when I
the
came
best.
across him, I was like, "Wow, I can just hope I have a good conversation." Like,
Yeah,
nah.
Nardwar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been following Nardwar for forever. Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I'm always like, how did you get that info? Like,
Yeah.
who did you contact? How did you pull that
Yeah,
off?
he
How did you
definitely.
know?
Yeah, there's a hidden side. He's contacting somebody.
Oh
so,
yeah, he's good. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you're looking at someone who's trying to get in the industry that you're in,
Sure.
what do you think the most important thing for someone is to prepare for in that industry?
I think you treat it like any job, and it's at least 40 hours a week. If people see that the club's open 10 to 2, we're just not showing up, turning the key, turn the lights on, put the DJ on, press play, and it's a thing. It's a full-time job. I think people have to treat it like that for them to fully experience it. I think if people want to just dip their toes in and things like that, there's a certain amount of hours that you put in to do that. And I think the hours that you put in is what you kind of get back as well.
Right. Yeah.
I think some of these younger kids think it's really easy, and they do things like social media and things like that. Social media is one element, and it's amazing, but it's also oversaturated and things like that. If you're doing social media, everybody else is doing social media, and that's one element of it. You can't. It's very hard to do things without social media, but it's not the be all end all, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's one element. And I think, you need to get out there. You need to meet people, especially in this industry. It's about knowing people, meeting people, greeting people, making people feel welcome. I think when you make people feel welcome, they want to come back. And I think it's very important for people to want to come back. I think the biggest thing is returning customers. I think
Yes.
that's for any restaurant, any bar, any nightclub, any lounge, anything like that, a returning customer, or any store for that, for example, that they're returning because they like it. They can entrust in you. They can feel a sense of, almost like friendship. And I think that's very important for any business, and I think that's important that you make people feel welcome as opposed to standoffish.
Right. Right. So do you think the reason you enjoy going out, even though that's what you do for a living, is because in a way it's almost kind of like research how you can learn more about how you can improve an experience if you experience something that you like how do you
Yeah, I mean, I think it's two things. I think I love tequila, and
okay. Who does?
that's
Yes,
not the
I'm a
full
fan
reason.
as well. Yes.
That's not the full reason. Yeah, I think yeah, but it's also visiting people too. I think seeing I am I've been in the industry for 25 years or so plus, but I also enjoy it too. So when working, it's hard. Yes, I do enjoy it, but it's also work. So when I do get time off, I like to visit other places. I like to see friends. I like to do that, but I also like to not work, and grab some ideas and enjoy it and be observant. But I also like to hang out and have fun as well. I think that's part of it. Yeah, but I think that's part of any industry. I mean, I think if you're a chef, you go to different restaurants and try it. I think if you own a clothes store, you're going to fashion week, and you're going to things that are in your industry, not necessarily work, but part work, part observation, but part enjoying your industry as well.
Right. What was the first thing that you went to that was like research slash not work?
Well, back in the day, I mean, years ago, I mean, I think, going to, and this is, 2000s, I think going to New York City and seeing nightlife outside of Boston. I traveled to London a bunch in the early 2000s. I think seeing that nightlife outside of the U.S., they're different kinds of parties. Actually, they're different kind of music. It was huge on UK garage and drum and bass, and you had the Paul Oakenfolds and the Paul Van Dykes and the Tiestos. Kind of just being huge over there. And coming over here, I think that was eye opening. I think around here, it was Avalon. I think seeing who we actually have coming up in a couple months, but Armin van Buuren on New Year's, and just seeing the way he controlled the crowd. And Avalon was a huge experience in Boston. I think it brought in huge DJs and was a little experience for everybody. Yeah.
What was your first concert like that you went to? Do you?
My first concert.
Yeah, because you're talking about Avalon. We'll get back to that, but in terms of.
It was in Central Park. It was G Love and Special Sauce. We still love. I think that was my first concert outdoor. I think, and then I'm not sure after concerts, but I've been going to thousands and thousands of concerts. I love live music. I think there's something special about hearing live music and watching them perform. I think it, somewhat equates to seeing one of your favorite DJs live, and, there's always something different when you see it live. And most of the time it's really positive seeing, everybody. Once in a great while, you like, oh, they sounded so much better on the record. They suck live, but
Yeah.
But I think I think it's important that people go see people live and experience it. There's always that walking into a room and hearing that sound live is always very special.
Yeah, I was telling Jamie, so I'll keep it short on this one.
Sure.
But I experienced 50 Cent with you guys,
Oh, yes.
and like, holy man, like
Yeah.
and this is, I said it then, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it forever. If you want to see an artist and they're gonna be at a club that you can go to the club.
Oh,
The
he's the best.
how close you get, the experience you get.
Yeah.
I've been to a concert of 50 Cent's, amazing concert.
Yeah.
Nothing but just him at the club with you guys, a big night live downstairs.
Yeah.
I was like, I will fucking remember this the rest
Yeah.
of my life.
We
This
did.
was
I mean, we
awesome.
just had him a couple of weeks ago, and we had him at Grand and Memoir, which is even it can be even closer. And we've had him. He's been a resident for years and years, and just to see him perform every time, it's just
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just takes it's just amazing, and it even might be the same 8, 10 songs that he sings, but it's just, and maybe it's more of me, but the nostalgia and to see him, 20 feet away, 20 yards away, whatever the case may be, and to feel the energy. And a lot of it has to do with the energy.
Yeah.
And when he gets up there and people get excited, it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. It's a very for someone like yourself, you do it all the time, but I think for like the average person who's coming out, it's one of those things that if you experience it, you'll remember it forever.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. You want to have these nights that are memorable, and not just for the athletes, not just for the celebrities, but somebody say, oh, I remember my 22nd birthday and so came. You want to have these memorable nights for people. You want to, that's the goal. They might not only come out once a year, maybe on their birthday or their cousin's birthday, but you want to make their night memorable. And I think that's, a lot of people, especially, in this, state of everything, you want to. They may work 40 hours a week. They have Friday night off. They have Saturday night off. We're literally open 8 hours, over the weekend, 9 hours over the weekend. In those 9 hours, you want to have them forget about their work week. You want to have them forget what's going around in the world and just enjoy something and take something and wake up maybe the next day hungover. But so happy that they got to experience something and laugh about it and with friends and meeting new friends and making memorable experiences. And I think that's, an amazing way to do it,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for yourself, do you have a party that you put together that it sits with you in terms of it was such a good vibe for you, like you enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean a lot of there are two that just stick out. Just not even thinking about that. Was one of the first parties I did in when I was with 617. I was with them for 17 years. And Ace, Sal, Frankie, the absolute legends of in winter and absolute legends of nightlife. And they brought me in, and it was my first night work. It was literally first night working with them on Saturday night at venue. I ended up being there for 17 years on those Saturdays, but it was this Jamie Foxx party. And it was Belvedere did it. It was an all-white party. It was the first party that I ever did. It was an all-white party. To see them change the whole club into this, white scene, everything changed, just transforming a club. And then Jamie Foxx going up there and performing. It was one of the coolest things. The second one just happened recently, and it's totally a different genre. It was this. It was called For the Children. It was this, hardcore, punk festival that I worked on for about 6 months, and it was over 2 days, over 25 bands, and all day long from 10 in the morning to 9, 10 at night. Just bands all day, just hardcore bands, and it was all ages show. To see the young kids in there to the old, the older heads in there, it was just an amazing feeling of working on that for so long. The second part of that is we raised or we had donated. Every person brought a gift, so we had over like 4,000 gifts, and we actually gave it to the Roxbury YMCA. Austin and Nate who helped put it on, basically, put this all together. It's been going on for years, but for me to help be a part of it and to see not only an amazing 2-day festival, but the recognition that the city gave them and giving out the toys, to see the happy faces, and it was just a whole combination of the whole week was just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you guys do quite a few events that are about giving back to the community. I've seen so many flyers.
Absolutely.
So do you have one that that you feel like you have an emotional attachment to? Like, how do you? I would assume all of them have an emotional attachment because you played it for so long. Let me not say it that way. But when you're planning for 6 months,
sure,
is there like a certain point where it clicks and it feels like you figured out how it's going to play out, or like how do you structure
Yeah.
all that?
So if it's on December 5th and 6th, it clicks on the 7th after it's over. Yeah. I mean,
After the results have happened,
yeah. It clicked on the 7th.
yeah.
There's never too much planning, and this one we planned out so much because we had to, all the bands and things like that. There's obviously planning that goes into every event, but not necessarily 6 months out. We actually just blocked down the dates for next year's for the children event, so I'm very
Nice.
excited for that one. And then we'll start the planning, and Nate and Austin will start booking the bands and everything for that. I'm really excited for that. I think there is a certain formula that I've been able to have the longevity for, and a work ethic that gets it done. There's certain checklists that I have to get everything done. I don't think anything actually really clicks. When you see the ticket counts go up and things like that, I think you get the train rolling. I think that's a good sign.
Right.
It's good click
Yeah,
in.
yes.
But
Results.
the full click, but the full click and the full results is about an hour after.
Yeah.
I think a successful show is when everybody leaves happy, a memorable thing. Speaking again on that show, Dickie Barrett from the Mighty Mighty Bosstones came out and performed a song, and he hasn't, the Bosstones haven't been around for years and years, but they used to do this thing called Hometown Throwdown. So to bring him back, it was pretty memorable, and I think, watching the social media the next day and, the surprises on, people's faces and things like that was pretty remarkable.
Right. Yeah. It gives you an element of the job that you almost never really think about as you're coming up it, because you're just trying to make the dollars in the beginning.
Sure.
And then you start doing events like that, and the causes almost like it sits with you a lot more on an emotional level.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to this next one that you're going to be setting up,
Sure.
same dates, same time.
Yeah, December 5th, 6th, 2026. Yeah, the bands we haven't obviously announced yet, but it's an amazing 2 days, and to see all these bands come together, and definitely lots of surprises as always. So yeah,
Nice.
it's a good show.
Nice. Now, going back to the Avalon conversation,
Sure.
there was like a glow in your eyes as you first brought it up.
Yes.
So I have to ask, like, is there a certain memory? Was it Tiesto, or what was Armin van Buuren? What was it that?
I think the Armin van Buuren night was just eye opening for me. I was DJ. It was New Year's, turning into 2004, and I'd just been hired for 617 to DJ. So it was called Avaland, and it was I'll probably get this wrong, but it was Axis, Avalon, Embassy, and Modern all together. It was 4 different. So Modern was like the lounge, Embassy was like a smaller club, Avalon was the massive club, and Axis was a smaller club as well. Just having different genres over there. I was DJing at Modern. You could walk in between all. It was amazing, called
Nice.
Avaland. And this is on New Year's. I was DJing at Modern with another DJ, I think DJ Heaven. And, I walked over to see the other places when I wasn't DJing, and just like opening the doors and seeing 2,000 people and feeling that, Avalon had an amazing sound system. I think the other one was seeing Paul Oakenfold at Avalon. It was the first time I did bottle service. And this is probably like 05, 06. So just experiencing that, and yeah, it was probably around that time. I would say maybe a few years later, and just full circle thing. He's come to Grand at one of the big night clubs, and meeting with him, hanging out with him was just kind of a full circle moment for that.
Yeah. That's sick, bro. when you're having moments like that, are you trying to keep it together, or do you ever have moments where you're like, fuck, like
I
I
can't.
gushed up?
I can't. Yeah, I keep it together pretty much. Yeah, I give him a lot of compliments. I actually there's one which I didn't know. We had a Chris Brown event, and the one that was doing all the Chris Brown after parties is the person that started Live Sundays, and somebody I always looked up to. Mike Headliner, and Headliner was what started Live on Sunday, which the rappers talk about. Which I've been there a few times. It's the most amazing place, and he started. It kind of opened up, for the country to allow, which in my opinion, allow other places to do hip hop and hip hop events. So he came up here with the Chris Brown thing. I didn't know he was mic'd up. And so I was, giving him lots of praise. Kids call it glazing or whatever it is. Yeah. I was glazing this guy real hard. And he actually made a video out of it. And, the praise was deserved. And if he had, it was me not knowing he had a mic on, and it was actual praise. But the video, came up pretty
That's
good.
a moment that other people definitely bring up.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah. Did you kiss him after or what? Yeah. But it was pretty. It was, but it was in, and it was the truth, and it was giving people compliments. I have fun with them. I know that they're, that people come to see them and things like that, but it's the enjoyment of them. Yeah, I keep it together pretty much most of the time. So yeah, I'm good with that.
Now, I would assume you've come across quite a few celebrities and artists and so
Sure.
on and so forth. Is there one that you look forward to booking that maybe you haven't booked or you're booking this year? Like, I know that's kind of like maybe a dumb question, but it's just more. I feel like what excites you? Like what?
I
Next
mean, I've
artist?
seen, and we're so lucky to have, our at Big Night to book so many amazing DJs and so much talent. Yeah, there are, I think, I'm personally a big reggae fan. So I love to see when some of these reggae, artists come around that I haven't been able to see. And I like the the new styles of some of these artists. Obviously, I love when they throw in the old school DJ, that I never got to see back in the day, or saw back at Avalon. That brings back memories. I do get excited, when these bookings come up, because I know it's not if it gives me excitement, I know it gives others excitement as well.
Right. Yeah. It's just the ability to have these people here and then give them the best VIP experience that they've
100%.
ever had.
Yeah. And I think especially for the older the older DJs, Armin still bring him up again. He's coming March 20th, and he's still a massive DJ. But, some of his bigger fans are, my age, and, it's nice for them because they have a little bit of expendable income now. Now they can sit in the VIP, watch it, have a couple bottles, tell the wife we're going out, get a babysitter. We're good for tonight, as opposed to just
we're
Jeff.
Something nice. We're gonna go enjoy ourselves. Yeah.
As opposed to just Jeff can get on the guest list. 10 years ago, I don't got much cash, but I need to see him. Now
I can get one drink. You gotta time it.
Yeah, a pocket full of nips. But now that they're able to, all right, I'm getting a table. I'm not sitting in GA, I'm doing like that. So it's nice to see, stuff like that involved.
Yeah. Now, for yourself, what does a typical day look like for you as you're kind of structuring everything? Like, what are you doing?
So, like on we have events basically Wednesday through Sunday every week. I try to cut down as many times as I go out. I used to go out, 7 nights a week, and then I went to 5. I try to go 2-3 nights a week with work. A lot of the stuff gets done in the office during the week. So obviously we're in the Big Night office now. People are in here, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. For me, I usually come in 2 or 3 times a week, probably from like 11 a.m. To 4 or 5 at night. A lot of meetings. There are a lot of meetings. It takes so many people to get an event done, and people. I don't think people realize how much it takes for one event to be done. And we have 20 plus 20 plus a week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that. On a regular night, if I'm going out, I'm working say Friday night at Memoir. I'm getting there around. We open doors, 10 o'clock. I'm getting there 8:39. Pre-shift meeting with the VIP waitresses, going over, the tables, the minimums, that kind of thing for the night. Spending the day on the phone nonstop all day, and then showing up there at 8:39, preparing for the night, and then 10 o'clock, and then before you know it, the blink of an eye, it's 2, and everything's going. Then I usually don't hang around the club, so I leave 2:30 or so. I don't wind down till like 4:35.
Right, yeah.
My phone doesn't wind down ever. It never winds down. Sometimes it slows down between 5 and 7 a.m. and then it just picks right back up in the morning. So yeah, I mean, especially if in not even saying drinking, but just like adrenaline. But I also like to unwind too as well.
Right. Do you have like a go-to that you use to kind of decompress, or?
I think we mentioned before, tequila is a good decompressor.
Okay,
yeah. And sometimes honestly, I just like, just at home, just like, laying down my ears. I'm wearing earplugs now, Mom. Don't worry. Yeah, my hearing is
yes.
it's not good. But just going home and it's still in your ear. I'm not going to put on the TV and just like watch TV and just calm down that way. It's like settle down on the phone, things like that, and trying to just relax. Yeah.
Gotcha. Kind of just let your mind unwind to
Yeah.
just doing basic,
It
regular.
takes, yeah.
Now, when you're looking to improve year to year, do you have like a certain way you like to go about it in terms of, I'm going to go here and try this because I heard about this, or like what kind of research, or how do you go about improving?
Well, I think I've learned this a few times of setting goals, and I think there's always, especially just after New Year's and things like that, I think it's a good time to set goals. I think setting goals of a month out, 6 months out, a year, 5 year, 10 year. I think to always check on what you did last year and how to improve on that. So you have your 1 month, your 6 month, your year, 5, 10, and being so long, I can check on my 10 year. I can check on my 5 year. It's very easy to check on the month and the 6 month and the year. But I think setting goals and achieving goals, in striving for that, I think those are always great ways to start off the year and focus, have focal points to achieve.
Right. Now, have you been doing that all your life, or when exactly did you start focusing on goals?
Probably about 10 plus years ago. Yeah. I can't remember
what caused it then. What do you?
I can't remember who told me, and I could, which probably could be correct, but Ace, my business partner, and my long term friend, and was the leader and still is working in the nightlife, but it was an absolute leader who I learned so much from. I think he might have been the one that told me to write these things out. Yeah.
Well, so I agree. I completely agree. There's something to writing your goals out and then having them there on a regular basis to refresh your mind. Yeah. Was there a certain thing that happened that made you see like, oh, okay, this is why I'm going to continue to write my goals? Or was it the first year? Was it a few months in? Like, at what point were you like, okay, I believe that this is valid?
I think it was Ace that probably showed me that. I probably wrote them out, And I think I probably gave them to him. Like, look, and he was probably like, "This is bullshit. You can do this 10-year goal in about a year. Rewrite these." And I think it made me focus on like finding a bigger goal and finding a bigger year goal and a bigger 5-year goal and a crazy 10-year goal.
Right.
So I think it was, showing him like, oh, I can do all this. No, you can do that in 6 months.
Right, because he knew you, so he wasn't gonna let you slide
He
away
was
with
not
just
letting
some
me
bullshit
slide.
goal.
Yeah.
All right, so like, what goal are you chasing, or goals are you chasing now? Like, what are you going after now?
I think, I don't want to get into specific,
Sure,
what I
sure.
wrote
Yeah.
exactly down because they'll give away the secrets. But I think keep improving is a very big goal of mine. And we've talked about this, before, is looking at how you can improve in every part of it. I think, as I get older too, and you can see, I'm not going to be on the cover of Men's Health next month. I think health has to be part of it as well. I think, especially with the late nights and with, supplementing, tequila for water and and late night snacking for celery. I think as you get older, I think health should be a primary goal and something I'm trying to work on. I'm not the expert yet. Nightlife, I consider myself an expert. Health, not there yet. But,
I in terms of the health thing, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm training for a marathon. It's on March 1st, and let me tell you, everything you say you're gonna do, and then when it's time to do it, you're just like, "Why did I agree with this?"
Yeah. I am the excuse guy when it comes to health, but yes, it is a big goal of mine, and I think the correlation too of being in a healthy mindset helps improve your daily goals and things like that. Waking up hungover or eating like shit, doesn't improve how you feel in the morning and how your work ethic is. And I think work ethic is a huge part of of anybody that's successful.
Right. Now, when you're looking at Big Night and then where you've been, up until this point, is there a moment that you feel was like the most instrumental to getting? Because we talk about goals, so sometimes I always wonder if there was like a certain click point where you're like,
I mean, again, I think the people and my mentors that became great friends and forever friends, of who I've mentioned before, Ace and Sal, Frankie, and Winter, and just seeing them show me the way and learning from them and seeing how they did it. Ace is actually my age. Winter, he's an old man. Just kidding. He's only a year or two older than me. But seeing them at my age, but knowing so much, the expertise, and it wasn't about their age, and it was about their work ethic, in what they've been through, in teaching me, and in believing in me. I think it's when you believe in somebody and somebody comes through, and they've told me how proud they are of me. I think that's believing in them and them putting a lot of work, time, effort, money into me. I got somewhere, guys.
yeah. It paid off. You guys put your money right in the right place. Your conversations and knowledge in the right place.
Yeah.
So it sounded like it was Ace, Winter.
Yeah. Sal and Frankie.
And Frankie.
Yeah, so that was basically the 617 crew. Winter had East Coast clubs, but he was part of the 617 crew, the original, the original old guys, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any like fun stories of each of them, or all together?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
is
I mean
there
we have
one that?
we have the best stories. I mean, Ace is obviously still running 617. He's doing an amazing job, but I was the best man in his wedding. We're forever friends. I love that guy. Winter is actually the head. He's over at 11 as a VIP host. I visited him a couple months ago. It's amazing. He's doing amazing things down at 11, which is the number one club in the U.S. And to see Frankie and Sal, they're both still in the industry, not in terms of nightlife, but still doing, amazing things in the industry. It's amazing to see all those guys, and after so many years, yeah.
Right,
But we
right.
have so many stories, yeah, too many to mention, yeah.
Do you because it sounds like it's almost like that's the crew that kind of helped you develop into where you are.
100%.
Was there because when you're saying, they let you know they were proud of you and they showed
Sure.
you through investing in you in different ways,
Yeah.
whether it's conversation or financial stuff,
Sure.
was what was your way of showing them? Was it just the hard work ethic? Like, what were you doing to show them, like, hey, I promise, like, you invest in me, like conversations you were having with them, or
I think, yeah, I think it was a couple things. I think it was production. I think, I think at that time too, I was living with Ace. I think we were roommates, so just being literally by each other's side, 24 hours a day, in showing either the work ethic, listening, and production. I think were the things that made him continue to believe in me, invest in me, and mentor me, and things like that.
yeah. Now, how do you find yourself mentoring others? Do you find it a similar path to how they did it with you, or how do people stand out in your eyes to be like, all right, Jeff's gonna give them some of their time? Like, how's that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty notorious for that. Like when I do believe in somebody and giving them advice, I do it in a positive way. I've learned so much, and I do want to pass it on. The person that took my role over at 617, Ado, who's running around the office here. We've had long talks. We've had hour-long talks over, a beer and food and things like that, and giving him advice and showing him the way. But he's also taught me, a lot of things too about the younger generation. When I first met him, he was a junior, I think, at BC playing soccer. He was the cool kid on campus, the soccer player, and just him showing me what those 21-year-olds, are into and like and everything like that. And I think it's got to be at least 10 years of, working together. He took over he's over at 617 now. And I think, we've had many, many, late night talks, and I love to give advice, and I love to do it in a positive way. I think people need positive reinforcement as well. Some of these DJs that are, dream of, DJing at Grand, the 56th club in the world, or Memoir at the Encore Casino for, win, and seeing that, and for them, to get a call from me and tell them that they did a great job, these are things to improve on, but do it in a positive manner. I think, a lot of the times they're like, we really appreciate it, and I think that makes me feel good as well, to, to not hold the secrets, to improve, because it's not only just for gatekeeping, for me or anything like that. This is a reflection on Boston nightlife, and to see Boston nightlife improve over all these years and to become a major market. These DJs are now going from live in Miami to New York, and now they have to have a stop in Boston. They have to stop at Memoir, Grand, Big Night Live, one of the major clubs in Boston. Now there are at least three major clubs in Boston, that they have to stop by. This is now a market, and we're not improving just Big Night. We're improving Boston nightlife, and I think it's very important as somebody that grew up in Boston and that lives in Boston, that's still Boston, is to putting Boston nightlife on the map, and I think that's very, very important.
Right. It looks like you put that burden on your, not burden, but like that fun on your shoulders, and you say, "I'll definitely help with that."
I'm with it. I'm
Yeah,
with it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Do you have you always been like that, or when do you think you were about the Boston culture and you were like, okay, I really want to evolve this?
Yeah, I think I've always been. I mean, I'm a huge. I'm a big Boston guy, but I think maybe in the last, I'd say 15 years or so, really wanted to make Boston, something. I think, before the casino and things like that, and before I moved moved over to Big Night, I think it was important for us, and it was probably around the time, when they took the tax burden off of movies, for example. We started having a lot of, movies filmed in Boston. And I'd say that was probably around that time. Maybe my timeline sometimes is way off, but it might have been around.
Close, yeah,
close. Yeah, within the 2 decades.
Estimated.
Yeah, within 2 decades. I think that was showing, that Boston is a major city, and that it didn't have to do with, nightlife, but it had to do with opening up to show, that they can film all these movies here, and they filmed some amazing movies here. In turn, yes, they came out at night and things like that, and they went out to dinners at some of the restaurants and things like that. Yes, it turned into an industry thing. But I think that, opening Boston up, that was a little part of it. I think sports, with the Red Sox winning in '04 and everything like that, opened up a little part of it. Now, the nightlife, I think that you said burden, but it's not a burden. It was just, helping out to kind of, putting the last star, up there, and, whatever, Thor's glove, the last, little thing.
You stamped the final stamp of what was needed.
What was needed, and I think, we're bringing some, amazing restaurants and things like that. I think it's just all encompassing now, and I think it's, it's amazing.
So before I met Jamie or
Sure.
anybody from Big Night, my fiance, huge fan of all your venues. So
Yes.
we've gone to Grace Barnea, Big Night
amazing.
Live,
Yeah.
the Mexican spot that used to be here. I don't know I think it's an arcade or something.
Yeah,
You
it's
said
Play
that,
now. Yeah. We have one down in we have a guys down in Foxwoods. Yes. Yeah.
So my fiance has been like, we need to go here, and we've gone there. Like after I proposed to her, the next day we celebrated at Grace Barnea.
I love it. Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
you guys are definitely, and I love saying is like, you guys are the pinnacle of what I think people should experience in Boston.
I appreciate it.
If someone is going out, I believe that your locations should be, one of your locations should be a stop that they're making that night, if not the first stop.
Yeah, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. Jamie, shout out to Jamie. He does a ton, and he's even on the restaurant side, he's operation. He is seeing everything, top to bottom.
Yeah. You guys do a great job, and I think the desire that you're saying about being able to put the nightlife stamp on the Boston as being a part of it, I see it, and I think you guys have done a great job.
Appreciate
it. Of course you're from Boston. You got the beard,
Yeah. It's a Boston tattoos, everything.
Was the beard always a look, or like when did you start doing that?
All right, so we there's some pictures. It's very rare to find me without facial hair in any pictures. The beard, probably, I would say like 2010 on, maybe a little bit later. I have my license picture has facial hair, but it doesn't have the full beard. Actually, I have to update my license picture. So that might be it. So every 7 years you get it? So 14 years. So yeah, so 2010, it was probably the beardish started coming in. But the beard and glasses, look has been around for, over a decade, heavy, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if I needed to escape, yeah, take the glasses off, shave the beard, I'd be
No,
selling.
yeah.
Nobody would know.
Nobody
Yeah,
would know you.
yeah,
Cover up
yeah.
the sleeves.
Ah,
That's the
yeah, put a
best
coat,
chance.
put
Yeah.
a coat on. I'm scot free. Yeah, I'm good to
A
go.
lot of Jason Bourne movies, sir.
Yes, yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome because I'm always a fan because I don't grow it out anymore.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because like the maintenance of it
Yeah,
all is something that I am just lazy to do. There's no other reasoning
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it. So for yourself, like, what's your routine now? Like, how do you keep it from
Yeah.
going too crazy?
It gets crazy. Yeah. I gotta tame it once in a while. It's, you know what the time is when I go to my mother's and it's, a couple weeks without getting it trimmed, and she's like, Jeff, you gotta take care of that thing. Yeah. And I'm like, all right.
She's giving you a hard time about
and
the beard.
then I give it another week or two, and then I go get it trimmed. But but it is, getting grayer by the day, which is wild. Yeah.
It's an experience to see them go gray, bro.
Oof.
Oh my god.
Oof. Yeah, it's crazy.
Seeing this disappear was an
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
No, seeing this turn
I
gray.
got a lot of hair on the head, and it's not going gray. So the beard, I think, yeah.
The level of competition and desire you'd like to be at, it'll definitely do that to you.
Yeah, I used to be able to count the gray hairs. Now I can't even count that high.
Yeah.
And I can count pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, with what you do, I would assume so. Now, when you look at the industry as a whole, what do you think the most basic way for someone who's opening a business is to create a good VIP or a good way of getting people to their venue? Like when you said I came up with the thirds or like what?
I think experience. I think, the way you have somebody back is the experience. The experience being, great service, friendly service, a fun time. What if it's food, enjoyable service. They have this saying down at 11 in Miami is welcome home, right? And they don't say welcome back. They don't say thanks for coming. They say welcome home. And it was odd to me at first. Welcome, that's kind of, whatever it may be. But then you do feel a sense of home, and where's the most comfortable places that most people are? Home, their parents' house, somewhere comforting, and home is comforting, and that's what you want a place to be of business. You want it to be comforting, you want it to be enjoyable, you want it to know that every time you go there, you're going to get the same experience, a fun experience, the same service, not the same, you want experiences to be different, but the same kind of service and the same kind of, feeling every time you walk down. You want to be there so you can tell your boy, I have the hookup at this place. And you go to that place and they say, hey, welcome home, Jeff, nice to see you. And your boy's like, oh, he does have the hookup. Whether that guy might just be like
a good,
just a good, great actor and, saying, welcome home, it looks good on you, And it's always, the thing people want to say is, oh, I have a friend that they can get us in. I have a friend that can hook us up. I have a friend that this, right? And when you want to call and say, you have a friend that can do that, you want to call and look like the man and say, yes, and my friend answers, Whether he's your friend or not, pretend you're a friend, pretend that, but you answer, you respond to people, you get back to people in a timely manner. It's important. It makes people feel important, when you respond, when you answer calls, when you don't blow them off, when you talk to them.
Bro, you
when
picked your phone call up. I called you 3 times, I think it was, and you picked it up on the first ring. I was like, that wasn't even a full ring. Like, this guy, each time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's fucking good.
Yeah, my phone is in my hand at all times.
Bro.
Yeah, it's buzzing in my pocket right now. I'm going to have to get back to a few people. But, I mean, it's basic rules and basic, I guess say manners, that people sometimes forget about that are very, very important.
Right. Yeah. Some people overlook the basic because they think the fancy stuff is where it's going to get the repeat customer.
Correct.
Was the repeat customer always something what you thought about, or when did that shift kind of happen for you?
I thought it was important when I started following up, right? So, and that's another, important thing. you see them leave and happy and things like that, but that might not be the full story on it. If you have a table Friday, Saturday, you get a text from me on Monday. How was everything? How did you like it? Oh, it's great. The waitress is amazing. Next time I have her, can she be requested? Jeff, I loved everything. The waitress, wasn't my favorite. Okay, noted. Next time, give them a new waitress. Have a new experience, the new waitress. Everybody's not perfect and everything, but I want to hear. It also gives people, oh, he's following up. It gives people, and that's a basic one text. I actually have it on my phone as, you press 3 letters in the space bar. It types it all out. It's the easiest thing in the world, but people forget about it.
Oh,
people,
the follow-up afterwards?
And people forget that, they just spent, $1,000, $2,000. They just spent their whole weekend with me. And you learn a lot of things. You don't do it on Sunday because people are hungover and they see their bank account and pissed off. I say, wait a little while. Wait till it settles in.
Monday they're back at work.
The Sunday quarterback. Oh, I'm hurting so bad. Oh, my bank account's this. No. Wait till it settles in. I usually give it Monday afternoon.
Yes.
Tuesday a little bit. Follow up
after 12 on Monday. We start thinking about it.
You don't follow up. Sunday the next day. But I think follow up is very important.
Yeah. When you started following up, did you notice that was when your guest list continued to grow names, or because for me I'm a big fan of the follow-up because I don't think you're necessarily going to get what you're looking for on the first try very often.
Sure.
Like with what I'm trying anyway.
Sure.
So at what point were you like, oh, this is working? Like what did you see?
I think growth is very important, and I think and that has to do with the 1 month, 6 month, the year, 5, 10. I think every one of those should be another block on that. So building and growth on every level. I think by saying, you have, 30 people, you had a 100-person guest list, use my 33 rule, 33 and a third showed up. And the next week you had 25, the next week you had 40, and, you keep around 30. Great, you kept around 30, but you didn't grow, right? I don't want you would love to see growth every week or every party, every event that you throw on. But there's going to be some that, dip and things like that. But if you stay consistent, you're going to be consistent, If you stay at 25, oh, great, you brought 25 and I can count on you. And that's awesome. I can count on you to bring 25, right? But you don't want to be that person that's just consistent. Consistency is good, but consistency is not great. Growth is great.
Right.
Consistency is good, and it's constant, and you can be counted on. But you want somebody that has growth, and you want somebody that builds, right? And I think consistency shows a good effort of you just hitting the same people up and not expanding, which is good because you're doing the follow-up and you're getting people in there. But growth is where you want to be.
Right, because what you're focusing on isn't necessarily... We want the numbers to grow over time.
Sure.
That's how we make Boston a hub
Yep.
of nightlife.
Absolutely.
All right, so if growth is the main factor, right, that's how you put them on the map.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I get why that's such a key factor in it all. Now, we've reached the 1 hour mark. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I usually have one question I like to ask
Sure.
To kind of wrap it up. You might have answered it already, but I'll ask it nonetheless. So let's say you've learned all these lessons all these years, right, in doing what you do now. And out of all these lessons, you can only pick one. Mm-hmm. You forget the rest, and then we rewind the clock to the very beginning, and we say, go do it again. Mm-hmm. What lesson are you taking with you?
To be thankful and to thank everybody that has helped you, and to learn from, and to never, take anything for granted. I think when you are thankful and realize the blessings that you have and the hard work that you did, it's just not you doing that, right? Yes, I could be the one that's throwing the party, a festival for 4,000 people. There were 200 people that worked out of that. Yes, I might be the face. Yes, I might be the person at the door every night, and I am the face, or I am the one that threw it, or I am the one that brought the big VIPs. But you got to be thankful for everybody that contributed to it. It was the waitress, the barback, the bussers that helped clear the table, that made an experience, the security that showed them to the bathroom, the DJ that made the night, the guy that checked the ID and cracked a joke that made them, smile going into that, to the light guy that, threw up, the LED picture of them on the wall. Maybe it was my idea to do that. You got to be thankful for the guy to know when it came out and to do that. You have to be thankful and know that it's not a one-man party. And it never is. And for people to be thanked, and yes, I might get all the glory. I'm using this as an example. Getting all the glory is just not just on one person. They may give the glory to one person, but it's a whole team effort. And I think you have to be thankful for all that.
Right. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to follow up to
Sure.
a question on that. How do you think that's affected your growth with your team, to see that you're always willing to share the results that were good with them instead of just taking all the light for yourself?
I think I've acquired a lot of friends. I think I've been able. I think when you thank someone as well, it shows that you're noticing them. And that you're a caring person. I try to believe that I am a caring person, but also you have to, show people that you've noticed it, right? A lot of things go unnoticed, but you have to thank the people, and I think it means a lot to people. When somebody says, Jeff, that means a lot to me. Was that a 2-second text that I sent them that really meant a lot to them? You know what? How long did it take me? Two seconds. Well, what did it mean to that person? It meant a lot, A thank you. I appreciate it. That was 2 seconds of saying those two things, but they might have went home and said, you know what? Appreciate it. And that could be the beginning point of them, getting excited to step up, to say that, you know what? And next time when I ask somebody or we do somebody, you know what, Jeff's thankful for that. It's easier for, to do that. And it's way better, and I don't care what people say to have friends and enemies and things like that. I'd rather have a billion friends, and I'll fight the enemies, I don't care. But to have people on your side, and how do you do that? You be thankful, be gracious of what they did. It might be the smallest thing, but be gracious and be thankful. I think it's a great way to be positive, and.
I agree, man. I agree. Now, before we wrap up here, what are the handles to the podcast? What are the handles that you share with people when it comes to following you?
Yeah. So it's at Jeff London _ on Instagram. Dos Blokes podcast on Instagram, and always hit me up, DM me, follow me, whatever.
He replies quickly, people.
I do.
That was fucking fast. But Jeff, thank you so much, man.
I really appreciate it.
This was
Thank
fun,
you.
man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let everybody.